Hello, hello, Greg. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Mimi, and to your whole family.
Thank you so much. I'm wearing my little New Year shirt today.
I know, and
a tiger with a lion on it.
It is so beautiful, and it made me so happy to see you wearing it. And it also reminded me that I still have like books on my shelf. I was like, oh, I was gonna send those to Mimi, and I didn't send her anything for the Gregorian New Year, and I didn't send her anything for Chinese New Year. And wow, you are failing as a friend.
Oh, not at all. You can never fail me as a friend. We were
Mimi,
talking off air.
It's 10:36. We were supposed to start at 10.
But
so
Marlo called. Marlo's needs, Marlo demanded everybody.
Marlo demanded her walk, and super producer Mark Evans of the Old Guard and other things has called as well. And when super producer calls, I
answer.
Do the thing. Like, I was trying to figure out how to get from there to you say frog and I just say how high and start jumping, but I couldn't bridge it.
Yeah. So, it's good.
Happy, healthy New Year to you and everyone.
So. Thank you. And again, you don't need to send me things. I mean, you can send me things, anything to do with Lazarus, I will say,
I'm going to say this. All right. Cause I think this is important, and I say it a lot. Like, my dear friend Oz, who is sort of the Uber moderator on Discord and handles the Lazarus social media and stuff like that, will always say, you don't have to send me whatever. And I'll say, yes, I know I don't have to send it to you. If I did have to send it to you, it would be a tribute. It's a gift because I want to send it to you. You see, that's the difference.
Yes.
If you said, Greg, if you want to be on the podcast, I require that you send me a box of chocolates and a bottle of champagne. That is a tribute. You see, that or more crudely, a bribe.
Right. Which would really be the other way around. It's probably me sending you the box of chocolates and a bottle of champagne for you to be on this podcast.
Pardon me, I haven't opened the last one you sent.
Right. I mean,
let me go get it.
We spoke off air, I passed out on social media because Greg Rucka, was a supporter on my Patreon, which half my supporters are here to hear you. So there's just some irony there. But
the other half aren't.
but I have also learned, and this is something I've been actually practicing. This is my new practice of graciously accepting support and just being grateful and having gratitude and allowing people to express their generosity in whatever way they would like. Right. And so instead of going, oh, don't do that, or, oh, no, you shouldn't have, I was very intentional about just telling you I appreciated you, of course. And then I told you on air, don't send me anything.
No. Yeah,
I need to keep practicing.
but one is from a joking place and the other is, and it is hard to graciously accept kindnesses. Of any sort. We are all so programmed to believe we do not deserve nice things, and nice things is like a big bold-faced, 48-point type centered, heading of the list of what is a nice thing.
Yeah.
And that's everything from somebody buys you a cup of coffee to somebody says something nice to somebody sends you a thing. I think that is a much more worthy New Year's resolution than mine have been, perhaps. I think it's interesting. There's been this, Amanda Palmer's whole thing about don't be afraid to ask for what you want, and it's like, yeah, you know what? That reeks of entitlement. The step from there to pursuing, working for the thing you want. Working for the thing you want isn't asking for it may be part of it, but it shouldn't be the whole of it, right?
Right.
But being able to accept graciously is 52 and I suck at it. I mean, like I say, you saw it on talking about social media. And speaking of which, I thought it was very convenient that there was a camera handy when you passed out.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
the Patreon.
there's a lot of security cameras in my house.
I was just gonna say, are you constantly being filmed for a documentary?
Just in case, you never know,
know.
and yeah, so that was very convenient. But also, I tried to have the Coltrane playing, it's just all like, very Greg.
I was very touched. Ironically, it had been something that I had been meaning to do for months and finally realized I just hadn't done it. Simply because, and I suppose there's a weird sort of vaguely masturbatory element to, I am going to support the podcast that I so often appear on.
Yeah.
It is maybe a little self-aggrandizing, but think of the donation, right? The Patreon donation is for all the times I'm not on it. Let's view it that way. Like if I bump it up even more, you'll have to have me on less.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So, well, another thing is like, and this episode in the pre-roll, you're going to hear like a lot of shout outs because I've had so many supporters recently because because of me learning to accept graciously, and it's this practice I'm having, and one of my really good friends is helping me with this. Shout out to him, but he's like, we're not just helping your podcast, like all the work you're doing that we don't want to do, the Asian American community, all these things. He goes, that's important, and us giving you more, enabling you to do that, and if we can help in any way, if it's through the podcast, if it's through whatever, but it helps my work. Right. And so he kind of pointed that out. So you don't have to feel like you're supporting your own podcast.
No, I and I think your friend is absolutely correct.
But I do very much, as appreciate you, not just for podcasting and stuff, but just your friendship alone has been thrilling. And I always say one of the only good things that came out of COVID is that I got to talk to Greg Rucka every week.
We did this. Yes. Look, I feel the same way, and I think you know that.
Yes. Awesome. And I saw the very cool Hugo Award come in.
Oh my God.
Before I even read what you wrote, I was like, that so could be a weapon. And then I saw that you wrote that and I was like, of course, we're on the same page.
The base has to be at least 6 pounds itself. Ooh. It's literally one of those things that you have to go thunk.
I love it.
And it comes in 2 parts. You have to assemble it.
Right. Seriously.
And the kind people at Discon 3, the Hugo Awards people had sent out an email. I want to say like, because I was getting the emails, the generals, like the awards are going to be tonight. And so there was literally an email saying, just so you know, for those of you who win the award, be aware you're not going to be able to take it and carry on. Like if you are flying home, it's going to be a problem for you. It's substantial. And I was like, okay, I get that. I've seen what it looks. No, it does not remotely. I've got, this is going to sound horrible. No, I have like,
tell us about the award.
6 Eisners in this room, right? Of various, I have Eisners back from when the Eisner was a plaque and not a statue, right?
Oh.
And the Hugo towers over these things. It literally is like, and you would be? We're sorry.
I love it. Yeah, it was very impressive when you showed the picture and everything. But that was my immediate thing. I'm like, oh, so it could be a weapon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ironically, I've been listening to one of the podcasts I'm religious about is the Guardians Football Weekly podcast. Which is released now 3 times a week.
Wow.
But there had been in their banter a question about which trophy could best be used as a weapon. And people had come back and they were like, oh, the Women's World Cup trophy. And and it turns out there's a Korean trophy that's quite literally a sword.
Ooh.
Right. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
literally like, no, it's a sword.
Right.
It's a sword. So that's the
So
hands
that's
down
probably
winner.
the one. Yeah.
But I feel that the Hugo could probably be a close second.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it looks sharp too.
It is.
It's like a blunt and a sharp
Yes.
object. That
Yeah.
you could,
It
yeah.
really is. You can flip it around and
Yeah.
it's going to be a really good bludgeoning weapon. And one good thrust with that is going to end the conversation.
So this needs to be written into your next something somehow. And like there happened to be a Hugo Award.
It's a murder mystery.
So,
yeah.
Yes. This needs to be written in something. I don't know what.
You can't write something like that, because then it goes out in the world and everybody reads it and goes, oh, he's just doing this because he wants to get nominated for another Hugo.
Not at all. Not at all. I think even if it's a short story, I'll take it. I think there's something here. And I think our audience is probably like, wow, they've gone down the rabbit hole of award weapons.
Well, not only have we gone down the rabbit
typical.
hole, but apparently half of your audience is like, good, they've gone down the rabbit hole.
They are. So, I can't even remember if we were on or off air when we were talking, but we get so many comments about, oh, we just kind of like hearing you guys, talk and go and discuss. I'm like, why do I even bother doing prep for podcasts? And I get that with like when Oscar and I podcast as well, I'll have this focus and then 5 minutes of focus. And then all of a sudden it's tangent.
Well, we don't interview anymore, right?
Yes.
What
converse.
What this has turned into is, hey, everybody, listen to two friends catch up.
Absolutely. And I think it's great because you have so many interesting things to share also, and opinions. You always have good opinions on things, and but people also want to hear about your work.
I always have opinions on things. Whether they're good or not is subject to review. But
yes. I know it's kind of interesting to have just gone on the podcast with you where we had Robert and Dave on and Compass, because I was like, oh, it feels so formal with like Greg in the room. It was very, very strange. It was like, wait, I got to stick to, making sure we talk about Compass here. Like I wanted to talk about Australia and being, dumped out into the wilderness as a teenager. And I like really wanted to go down that rabbit hole, but I was like, okay, let's bring it back to Compass because we're here to talk about the book.
Well, have them on and do that conversation. It's weird because, and it's, I love them. They are friends. They're also new. Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm. So every time they go on a podcast, right, they're still figuring, and they have a totally different problem, right? You and I talk like we're in the same room. So we talk over each other and we get excited and so on. They have the problem of being a writing team and still working out who says what about what and where the other one can come in.
Yeah.
And then, right, they're also engaging in many ways on this, like, we're here to talk about our book. And it's like, and all of this is true, right? And no slight at all. It is just literally like, yeah, give them another dozen, they'll have it down.
It's practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect.
You gotta,
but also I think it was relaxed. It wasn't too bad. I just meant compared to my normal podcast. I actually thought we were relaxed and we did get some fun stories out of them and everything. But it was also though, whenever there's more than one person, there's always a bit of who goes next. Yeah. It's not even them. It's really that, okay, where there's four of us there and nobody wants to talk over. And
it's worse on a Zoom / Skype / Discord.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
It's exacerbated. No, I didn't. I mean, this is not me going, yeah, it was a bad interview. It wasn't. It was great. I mean, it was terrific. But it was also one of those ones where I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, give them another 6 months of this, and they're going to be like, I went out into the outback and I killed a dragon, and then.
I want that exclusive when that dragon killing story comes out. We'll let them know. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I definitely hope Compass gets its renewal or however it works in the comic world.
It's gonna the big factor is gonna be how how the trade sales go more than anything else.
Mhm.
If the trades earn out. So the way it works, right, is unless you have quote unquote hit with your floppies, in the main, your floppies are gonna be in the red when you're done with however many, right?
Mhm.
So if it's a 5-issue miniseries, because of the nature of the market, right? Previews comes out 3 months in advance of the first issue. So you order issue 1. And it's a new thing. And if you've gotten some word of mouth or some buzz, or you see something about it that you like, it retailers will order up on it, right?
Mm.
Then the next month comes and it's the second issue previews, and the first issue hasn't come out yet. And retailers go, well, I'm in the hole on issue 1 by X amount because I ordered X many,
Mhm.
and I don't know how it's going to do. So I'm going to reduce my orders.
Oh, okay.
And then the solicitation for issue 3 comes out, and they go, well, I've ordered issues 1 and issues 2, and I haven't moved any of them because they haven't come out yet. But I'm now even deeper in the hole, so I'm going to cut my orders even more.
Mm.
Then month 4 happens and issue 1 comes out. And unless issue 1 like flies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The other numbers are not going to get adjusted. So what invariably happens is you can start, with 20,000 in sales, you can end up by the end of your run at 6,000. And that's not a referendum on the book itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a result of so many contributing factors. And then add to it the people who are trade waiting. And that's not pejorative, right? That's just there are some people who are like, I want to read it all at once. I'll get it in the trade. I
Mhm.
know the
Mhm.
trade is coming.
Right.
There are retailers and venues who simply will not order certain titles. They just won't,
Mhm.
right? We don't do image books here. We only do Marvel and DC and Dark Horse, for instance,
Yeah.
right? It is, there are so many factors. So what happens is that, at least in the image model, you end your run and then you go into trades, and what the trades have to carry is they've got to clear the debt on the book before there's any profit. Now, if they clear the debt relatively efficiently, from a business standpoint, that means that it was a good investment. We're not in the hole, and we
Mhm.
are now in profit on this. And if that happens, then you're better positioned to go, well, let's keep going. So, my suspicion from the start with Compass was, my name's going to be on issue 1. People are going to know I didn't write it. They're going to go, who are these people? I know Justin Greenwood. I don't know who these writers are. Right.
Right. Right.
And so I always knew we weren't going to burst into the world with, 80,000 in sales. I knew that.
Mhm.
And much like Whiteout was for me way back in the day, it is the belief and hope that, people are going to find it. And when they find it, they're going to enjoy it. And when they enjoy it, they're going to tell other people about it.
Mhm.
And that will move the book.
Mhm.
And we'll be fine when we get to trade. Image does sort of a trade accounting twice a year. So, it's going to be June, July before we know,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, I love the book. If I didn't love the book, I wouldn't have wanted my name on it, and I wouldn't
Right.
have pushed it. So
Of course.
there you go.
I mean, and this is why it's so hard though, right? For creators, and why a lot of them are doing so many different things like kickstarting or
Yeah.
Substack. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing now, and it's just because you just don't know what's going to hit and how it's going to go. And
Substack, the NFTs of publishing. Yes.
oh, yeah. That's an analogy.
It's an unfair analogy. I
Okay.
think that NFTs NFTs are inherently worthless,
Okay.
right? And are an extension of a demonstrably damaging paradigm that people have bought into.
Yeah.
Substacks, very clearly, there are people who are answering to them and rising to them, and for whom they are I mean, it's a magazine subscription, and they're getting a magazine that is worth the subscription.
Right.
There are a lot of folks who have subscribed to magazines that are not coming out, or when they come out, only have 4 pages and 3 of them are ads.
Yeah.
And that to me is
Problematic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that may be a let the buyer beware. Like Spencer Ackerman's Substack is worth getting.
Yes.
Right. You know, and
100%.
and knowing that the money that Ackerman's getting from that is subsidizing Ackerman's ability to work and produce it.
That's like serious journalism going on there.
Right.
Like I can't even keep up. So I'm like, oh, it's involved. I mean, anyone who's read his book knows like it's the real deal. So, but yeah, I see what you mean. And that's the thing. It's you kind of almost like anything else. You have to research and know what you're getting into before you get into it, and just trial and error, I guess.
Like if I were to do something like that, I can barely put out a newsletter. So, what's my selling point to have a subscription based? Here's the thing from Greg Rucka, you're going to get every week or so. Am I writing a specific story for that? I've got stories I'm writing right now for other things that have to come out. So now I'm going to add on it just, for me. But
you're also Greg Rucka.
But yeah, I say this in the same conversation we've talked about a Hugo Award, but I don't think that that's necessarily easily monetizable. Right? I've never been sure. I once knew a guy who maintained, you could open a web store and you'd move stuff and you could sell stuff. And I was like, I think you are wildly overestimating the appetite of my limited audience for, Lazarus patches, and signed books. And I don't think that the cost benefit analysis there is going to work out. I think it's going to be, okay, web store has to be stocked, has to be staffed,
right?
All that, all the logistics have to be worked out for what in the wash will turn out to be a push. Like we're going to be fighting to break even on it. I hate to say it, but if you want your book signed by me, there are easier ways to do it. I do shows.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that there's something to be said there for, I do think if there was a Greg Rucka or, Works by whatever store, I'm sure it would do well. It's just, you don't have the bandwidth to take that on.
Yeah, no, I
for,
don't.
like you said, what would be, it's great for fans and everything like that. But I mean, you can't just work in that capacity for pretty much nothing, right? Like it would just be crazy. Like it just doesn't work. Plus you're losing money if you're making a ton of products and things like that. It's not reasonable,
thing, right? It's like
read Greg's books. That's
I'm gonna get a storage unit and fill it with things that maybe people will want to buy.
Tough.
It just thing, to me is always
I think what you do
crazy.
is great because you do the bonfire stuff and like that goes, partly to charity and it's stuff that you get on board with, and it kind of, it's like, I think it's a happy medium, but I do think,
Yeah, hold on. This is, you see the old guard?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
You can't. But yes, I'm wearing my old guard shirt today.
Well, the YouTubers can see it. Oh my gosh. So speaking of writing, I do know you have been in The Bunker. Yes.
Yes. The Bunker.
And
The Bunker.
I know we've talked about it in other episodes, but it always fascinates me. And I love that whole thought process because, for Kung Fu training, it's like, anybody could just train at home, but you don't, right? Like you have to kind of go into the temple or into your classroom and have that thing. And I know in MMA, I've heard people talk about, once you step on the mat, it's like, that's the moment, right? And so I know you do work in your office and at home, but when it's like serious time, that's when you go into the quote unquote bunker. And so, is there things you can talk about what you've been writing about in the bunker and what you're working on?
I mean, it's not a secret that The Old Guard 2 is going to get made.
Not a secret.
This was announced. Victoria Mahoney's going to direct, or is directing.
Yes.
I've been working on what will be the official second draft. Pre-production is underway. And that's pretty much all I can say, simply because Vic will probably appear behind me with a knife if I say anything.
Or your Hugo Award.
I will. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that I suppose that's valid. And I'm looking around my office and I'm going, there are actually a lot of weapons.
There are a lot of weapons in your office.
Yeah. I'm like, there's a claymore, there are 2 sai, there's a Spartan sword. I mean, there's the bag full of fencing. But yeah, you know what? Somebody
Make sure you can see the entryway. That's all.
I was going to say somebody wouldn't have to go far. I'll say this about Vic because I think it is not something she would disagree with or object to. Vic, was on Rise of Skywalker, and you can imagine the security surrounding that production.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, just the have to keep things under wraps.
Under wraps, yeah.
And like Vic's security protocols are like, and I'm paranoid. And it's like, okay, you gotta weigh up your game. It's like, okay, we are using these servers, we are encrypting in these ways. Wow. So yeah,
cybersecurity.
Yeah, no, she's bringing all her game.
Wow.
So, yeah, but no, it's going well. It's very exciting. I expect the next time you and I talk, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, pre-production is underway now. We are slowly starting the train rolling.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
very exciting.
It is. And I'm just so thrilled and bewildered by the journey. I just keep going, how did I get here? I can't believe I'm still on this train. This is crazy.
Very deservedly so, though. I mean, the first film, I need to go back and watch it again, because I've been lately not watching things that are new because I just get disappointed. And so I realize I just need to like enjoy the little time that I have for entertainment and just watch something that I know I'm going to be. And we've talked about this like a million times on our podcast, but I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. I need to feel good these days. It's been so trying. Off air, we talked about Florida and airlifting me out and all, and I've been determined to stay in and fight, but they are totally wearing me down. I will not lie. And I've never wanted to get this up close and have this up close view of the politics here and the legislation here, but obviously working on a House and Senate bill, I don't have a choice. And it is worse than I even thought. And I had already thought it was horrible. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. There are, Troutman is fond of saying to me when we talk about the Hollywood stuff, I don't know how you do it, because one of the things you deal with, and you deal with it it's just as a matter of course, is that, there are a dozen people who are going to need to sign off on something before you can say, well, we're going to move to the next step. Not even we're going to make it. Yeah. I'm supposed to write something else, right? Should be a fairly short script. The number of people who have to approve this right now is, I believe, 12.
Oh,
There's a
gosh.
dozen people who have had to approve this outline
Hmm.
before I can write something that's going to come out to maybe 30, 32 pages. And
Wow.
it's not that complicated. It's literally like this outline is everything but the dialogue, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know? But it takes a kind of fortitude and a you have to be engaged and be passionate about it, i.e., you don't introduce a bill that you don't believe in, but you also have to be able to step back enough so that the absurdities in the process don't feel like personal attacks.
Mm. Yeah, that's
And it's
tough.
really hard.
It's really hard. It's
And
really
it's
hard.
and
Yeah.
it and I imagine it's going to be, I mean, this is not to make these things analogous in value,
Right.
because they're
Of course
not.
not. Yeah. Process.
But but in both cases, in what you've been experiencing and then what I'm doing professionally here, it's very difficult to extract your self-worth from the abuse the thing you are trying to accomplish takes in the process.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when it's coming from a personal place, um, and art comes from a personal place too,
Hmm. Definitely.
it's very hard because you
Yeah.
definitionally are putting yourself into it. And
Hmm.
then, to have it shot down by, some guy who thinks applesauce is best served with a straw, you know, or who says the word gay is problematic. Like you can't say it to our
Yeah.
kids.
Don't say gay. That's
Don't say
Florida.
black. Don't say slave. Don't say, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry you don't want to have to own your fucking legacy, asshole. It's absurd because it is on such a level. No, 2 years ago it would have been, this is distraction. This is just distraction tactics.
Hmm.
It's not. This is now the point. It is quite literally saying, no, this is what we are willing to fight for. We are willing to fight to preserve a false history and a fascism and an entitlement. And it is, yeah. I mean, I don't think DeSantis is planning on running for president. I think he's planning on running for president of the seceding states.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I think we've got here. I think he and Trump are going to get into a dick fight over it. Um, I find it interesting that Trump squats in Florida. I'm very curious what the communication is between those camps.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
I try not to think about either of them very much, but it's kind of hard when you're faced with it
yeah,
daily. But you're right. And I think about you often because we've had so many conversations on, you know, current affairs, the world and whatnot. But like you any like glimmer, you weren't pessimistic, but you're like, well, it's a reprieve, right? Like, yes, we've got a new president, but
yeah.
and it's just here we are in it where you're right,
Look,
the big but is there, and
uh,
it's not looking good. Like the laws
no,
that
it
are
isn't.
passing here in Florida, I am horrified over,
No,
and
and this
it's been
and this
horrifying.
and this Supreme Court doesn't actually care about the Constitution. It's a Supreme Court that is politically aligned. And that was the GOP agenda for years and years.
Hmm.
Um, when the RNC is censoring its members and saying January 6th was legitimate political protest, like I mean, we can all see it. Everybody who's looking can see it. Um, I understand the impatience with the Justice Department and the committee. I understand that if you are going to subscribe to the rule of law, you have to be precise and correct in its application. You can't rush. I get the impatience. And I can accept certain things, and I try to be aware of the things I am not aware of, what I am not seeing. But the incompetence in certain areas right now is more than just disheartening. And I have days when I'm like, well, you had your chance and you blew it. You could have moved to make right, and all you are doing right now is forestalling the inevitable. Fall is going to be ugly. Fall is going to be ugly. And the media is not helping. The bullshit journalism. Literally, people should be fucking rioting over the revelations that Trump was destroying documents in office, stole documents, right? But Fox News, right? I mean, and this has been remarked, but her emails.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my fucking God. Could your hypocrisy be even greater?
But they get away with it.
Actually, no, it couldn't. It literally could not be. It is the party of look at them, whatever you do, don't look at us. And so, I mean, look, we have to fight, and we have to keep fighting, and we have to keep being loud, and we have to keep jumping up and down, and then we have to take weekends off.
There it is.
No, I'm dead serious.
You're right. Our mental health can't really handle it.
There's a terrific Robert Reich video that he put out, I want to say about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
Where he quite literally was asked, he was answering, how do you keep going?
Yeah.
And he was talking about, this is the team I work with. This is the way we support each other. This is how we stay healthy. And this is where we disconnect. We take time to disconnect. And you have to do that. And this is where, social media and iPhones and so on became this perfect storm of toxicity. It's one thing to say, look at and I've said before, the root of all this evil is greed, right? It is all greed. And you can go and say it is greed, right? Everybody, the mobile phone, the smartphone changed the world. It is a platform that was immediately monetized, and one of the ways it was monetized most greatly was in social media. So now we are locked in this cycle, and that cycle eroded a whole bunch of things, right? And it's very difficult to get out of. It's very difficult to escape. And you can't, just because you don't like the tank, you can't ignore the tank, right? I mean, you're going to have to deal with the tank. It's going to run over the house otherwise. But that means that you just can't throw everything at it. You've got to be able to pick the attacks and to regroup and recover in between. So.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling it. I'm definitely feeling it. And it's been hard too, because it's not like it's just me, right? So it's not just me going up there. It's not just me writing this and working on this. It's like I'm rallying an entire community that have done things they've never done before. And that's the great part. And I'm trying to hold on to that, right? This community here in Florida, across the state, have come together in a way they've never come together before, made calls, wrote their legislators, things they've never done. I had 10-year-olds doing civic
now they get to
engagement, right?
now they get to bring the threats, which is my money will not go to you.
And
I will do everything I can to get you out of office. You failed me. You are not representing the will of your constituents.
Yeah.
That's the next phase.
Yes.
But the battle, like I say, Mimi, and this is it. And this is my, this, but I'm going to say this. Mimi, you can sit down and catch your breath for a bit. All right. You just went 15 rounds. And before you get into another fight, and you know you will be getting into another fight, you get to lick your wounds and you get to heal up. And then you go back. Because you know you're going to go back. You know you're not done.
Oh, yeah, you know me too well. I know. My husband's going, oh boy. Here we go. But it's a long-term thing, right? Like I knew this
Yes.
wasn't going to be I'll be done in like 5 months. It'll be pretty quick and easy. I mean, nothing's easy here in Florida
This is
anyway.
this is a lifetime
It's a
thing.
lifetime thing. Yeah.
We those of us that are engaging in the world in an attempt to make it better, to really make it better for everyone, that's a lifelong battle, or it's lifelong work if you want to use something less martial, right? It's something that we're always going to be doing, and nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. And if you're doing it, if it's going to be your work, you get to take some vacation time.
I definitely need vacation.
Yeah.
So when I come knocking on the door, just let me in.
You have until early April, and then I won't be here. So.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. So, but otherwise, I know my Lazarus fans and friends we've been talking in the Discord, and we're talking about July and all of these things. And I know that you've had a lot of challenges with this issue, and at over the last few months, even just writing in general has been tumultuous
very
for
hard.
you. Really, just with everything going on, but also sometimes things are just hard to write, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, and that was part of the reason why I needed to go into a bunker. But, I didn't really realize until, I think I said this before, but I hadn't realized until sometime in early December how badly the pandemic had messed with me. Because on one level, what changed? I mean, I'm still going to be in my office working. But, the last year and a half in particular has been very difficult to work forward. And then this issue in particular, Risen 7, just, oh my God. I mean, oh my God. It was, I don't think I've had a harder time writing a comic script in my career.
Wow.
And I don't know. I genuinely don't know if it's good. I mean, I genuinely don't know if it's good. I know that it does what I need it to do. Right. But I don't know if it does it well. And this came up on the Discord last night. It really is the last issue. It's the last issue of Risen, right? Not the last issue of Lazarus, but it's the last issue of Risen. And it is ending a huge part of the story as a result of that. So, and then you add to that all the things that are going on, not just with me personally, but then again with Michael. And everything got in the way of this. Everything was like, let's make it really, really hard. So, I'm getting about a page a day from Michael at this point.
Okay.
We were shooting for June, but we kind of realized if we did that, there's absolutely no wiggle room, like none. And given our luck, something would go horribly wrong. No, seriously, just given our luck, it was something was gonna go wrong. So we were like, we'll release it in July. The trade will be in September. And then in July, we'll probably hit hiatus. And then when we come back, we'll come back to end it. So, and then we're gonna, I want to talk to Michael about format for that. I suspect his druthers will be OGN. So let's just do 228-page OGNs and end it. And I don't want to do that. It's a periodical story. I want to
Mm-hmm.
tell it as a periodical. There is a piece of me that's like, well, I mean, if that's what we're gonna do, maybe we go back to the 32-page self cover. We do 24-page stories again, and it's gonna be another 24 issues, and that'll be it, or whatnot. And those 24 issues, we will not start releasing, until we have what 15 of the 24, 16 of the 24 in the can, which means, people may be waiting, but it also means that when it starts coming out again, it's going to go all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we
well,
will be
I
done.
know it will. I know it will, and it's very clear, especially from the Discord and everything. Like everyone's fine waiting. I mean, we're a little
Well,
impatient because we're
it's
excited, but we don't really have a choice. And
yeah, I
we
mean,
want the story, and it will come. And if it's at everybody's health, like you and Michael, like you guys have to take care of yourself. Like
yeah.
life is still going on, and everybody understands that, right? And I think it's also going to be one of those things where when this is complete, like that is when
One
that whole
hopes.
new readership will come on board, right? Because I think that's just how the story will be. I
Well,
mean, it's
I mean, the Discord is a self-selecting echo chamber. Let's be honest. So,
this
um,
is true, which is why I do find some comfort. I don't get to go on all the time, but I'm like, oh, it's
yeah,
always comforting. Everyone's so nice here
yeah.
and
No,
so
everybody's
supportive.
remarkably.
And I
They
was like,
are.
oh, it's such a nice place because
It's,
I get a lot of BS on the social stuff sometimes, but
yes, this is why I don't do the social stuff I do.
I know. But people need to, know what's going on. And it's like this is a double-edged
But
sword thing. And
but but they don't
yeah.
have a right to access.
Of course, yes.
And I resent wholly the idea that I spent my money to buy your thing. That means I own you now. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You own the thing you bought.
Right.
That's what you have access to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anything else is at my sufferance. And I'm happy to engage, but I don't have a right to it. I'm not an elected official. Right.
Exactly. I don't work for you.
Exactly.
And people don't have to read or watch things. Like
Yeah.
if you don't want
You
to
don't
enjoy
like it.
then just leave it alone. Go do
Yeah.
something else. I mean, that's why we have different channels and different types of books and all these things. Are you getting downtime and disconnecting on the weekend and taking time for yourself too? Like, what have you been doing for fun? You and Jen, are you still
Okay,
watching your
so I'm
shows?
gonna totally nerd out here.
Oh, yay. Because we don't have
So
any nerds that listen to this. Like
so
everyone.
my youngest,
Mhm.
um, so I've talked about role-playing games and tabletop
Yes.
role-playing and so on. I have stayed away from streams and shows like Critical Role because
Okay.
I am of an age that playing Dungeons and Dragons and so on was dangerous.
Mm.
It marked you as a target in
Mhm.
society.
Yes.
And it was something very, very precious. And it's, genuine role-playing interaction is very intimate.
Okay.
And so when a lot of the streams started, they seemed to me performative.
Okay.
They did not seem to me, and I say this is a bias, all right? I acknowledge this. I avoided them because they seemed to me insincere in that they were taking this thing I loved and putting it on display, not in a loving way. Because I had seen some of the proto ones, and they absolutely had been that. There had been players at the table going, I'm going to name my character Jackass Stupid Face. Ha, 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 ha. And it's like, then why are you fucking here? Everybody else at this table is serious, and you came to be the class clown
Right.
for an audience. Go away. Right. So I had stayed away from things like Critical Role. My youngest during the pandemic started watching Dropout TV.
Okay.
And in particular, started watching Dimension 20. Right? Now, Dimension 20, which cleverly for the gamers out there will recognize shortens to D20, is a actual play show, right?
Okay.
It is 6 players and a DM around a table in an environment, and it's filmed, and then they break it up into 2.5-hour chunks.
Oh, okay.
And Dash, and she had, grew up with us gaming all the time, but had never really wanted to try it yet. And for reasons of mine, neither she or her sibling we hadn't really opened that door properly for them.
Okay.
And Dash got crazy into it. She loved it. Like, it was literally like, Wednesday night, do not talk to me. I am upstairs watching the live stream. Right.
Okay.
So when the kids were home over the holidays, Dash installed the Dropout app on the TV. And I come in at one point, and Elliot is watching one of the first episodes of the first Dimension 20 season, Fantasy High freshman year, right? And I'm walking through, and I stop and I start watching it. And it was one of the most, I don't know how to describe it. It was like being in the room with my friends when I was 16 and we had been gaming for 6 hours. The chemistry around that table was so sincere and genuine, and they know they're being filmed. And they're, Dropout TV comes out of College Humor. They're comedians. They are playing for laughs. I get all this.
Okay.
But it was amazing. And I was like, oh, I mean, literally, like, I'm sitting down and watching this with the kids now.
Yeah.
And that sort of opened up all of the Dropout TV offerings. Like, I was like, right, well, I better get my own subscription. And so Jen and I have been working through the Dimension 20 ones right now, much more slowly than our children have. But, and I am loving it. I am loving it in a way that I have not had a lot of opportunity to game really since the kids were young. And the last 7 years or so, most of my role playing has been done by play-by-post gaming online, which, again, it's much slower. It's not a tabletop experience,
right? Because you just on and off, right?
Yeah. And then to get to a table with people in a pandemic has been something of a challenge, even with virtual tables, even with websites like, Roll20 and so on. It's been very difficult. And you were talking at the beginning about, gratitude and things you're working on. And honestly, I realized one of the things I wanted to work on this year was, because, and I really firmly believe this, I've always believed this, that role-playing games are a tool for life. They absolutely can and should and will make you a better human being, right? And I sort of resolved to myself that what I wanted to do was, one, try to get over my old man, cranky old 52 shouting at cloud attitude towards these young whippersnappers who have all started talking about D&D and going, no, this is loving. And I mean, look at College Humor, Dropout TV. They're in their early mid 30s at the oldest, right? So that is a substantially different generation for me. They come to gaming in a different place.
Right.
So one thing has been like, well, I want to re-embrace this. One is I want to evaluate myself as a player and as a person who tells these stories, who runs these games, and find my best practices. And that has actually been just balm for the soul for me.
Wow.
It, being a, playing Dungeons and Dragons, playing RuneQuest or Call of Cthulhu or whatever the game was all throughout high school and into college, and was so integral to who I am. And sort of the realization that I haven't been able to be there for so long, and how desperately much I miss it, how desperately much I miss the sincerity of the interactions when you are all telling a story together, and aren't holding stuff back, aren't doing that, like, my name's going to be, Mick Brick hit face. When you engage with an open heart and with sincerity and with trust, and Andrew, I should say, Robert and Dave.
Yeah.
Robert and Dave, they're big gaming guys. That's kind of how we came together, as we talked about. Like we met through Lazarus. We discussed other things. The friendship came out of them going, "Hey, come join these games." They are both, and Dave in particular is a huge mechanics guy, like how a game works.
Okay.
And why the system is what it is, and how the system is to be used is of paramount importance to him. And to me, it has always been secondary to the experience of the table. But the result of that, and one of the things I've been learning, and this came up just like a week ago in the play by post thing, is like, mechanically, this game is not doing what it should. And Dave was like, yes, I said that a year and a half ago, we were going to have this problem. And it was like, yeah, I should have listened to you then, man. I should have listened to you then, because the problem that is manifested in the mechanics now is manifesting entirely for me. Everybody else is fine, but the mechanics are failing my play and my character. But that led to like going to the reevaluating of like, is this me? Is this my play? Am I not doing something right? That is a tangent to the question. The short answer is this. We've been watching a lot of Dropout TV. In particular, we've been watching Dimension 20. In particular, we've been watching the Fantasy High stuff as run by Brennan Lee Mulligan, with the quote-unquote Bad Kids core cast. They are terrific. It is like hanging out with my friends, and that they have managed to replicate and share that is, to me, revelatory. And I finally get all the actual play stuff. And I finally understand why these people are responsible in no small part for this enormous revitalization of Dungeons and Dragons, because if Critical Role is showing people this is really what the game can be, I do not understand how you can watch that and not go, I want to experience that too. I want to be able to sit around a table and tell stories where I am amazing, and where I laugh, and where I cry, and do it with my friends, and make friends doing it. Why the hell would you not do that? Right? Like that, or getting into, a death match of Fortnite or whatever, I would take the former a million times. Right? I mean, a million times. What's going to be more fulfilling?
Of course, of course. Or doom scrolling on social. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I've don't really have that experience. I didn't grow up with it. And then I
Find
know
it.
so many people that are very involved and have done it forever, like you, in the same age range as us and everything. And they're like, oh, you know, like you said, you're like in hiding because you would get beat up if you were playing it
Yeah.
when you were
No,
little and made fun of, and
it was
just
literally a thing to be ashamed
so
of.
you hide your identity, and then like it just feels like oh yeah, you've been missing a piece of your identity, and to have found that and then not just find it but have acceptance, and everything you just described is so wonderful. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm sold. Like sign me up,
I,
Greg.
look,
Like
I'm
it
not
just
gonna,
sounds amazing.
I'm not gonna tell people quick go out there and get a Dropout TV subscription. I think they absolutely should be supported. I think the content they are creating, and this is
Yeah.
across the board on the site, is fantastic content.
Mhm.
But genuinely, if you're curious about the Dimension 20 stuff, they released to YouTube, and you can find like the first season. You can find all these games.
Mhm.
Start with the first season of Fantasy High, the first episode, and if you are not hooked within an hour of it, you know, the premise was, and right up front, Brennan says it's basically, you know, D&D set in a John Hughes movie in the 1980s.
Oh.
It's literally the Breakfast Club
Yeah, yeah.
as a D&D setup, and
Right,
it's
right, right.
terrific. It's
Oh,
just a delight. And
yeah.
yeah, I literally cannot recommend it highly enough.
I said
It is
clearly,
such a, you can
clearly.
see it on my face. It has
Yes.
been such a joy. And I am so grateful for these people for having created this and having put this in the world. It is an example of a good thing put into the world.
Yeah.
You cannot come away from this going, I feel I am diminished as a human being. Like this is the antidote for every motherfucking hate speech social media platform out
Yes,
there
it's
are watching these 7 people making each other laugh and accepting each other and embracing each other
Mhm.
and telling this story that is just wonderful. It's a hoot and a holler. Uh, and I will be surprised if you watch it. I will tell you, Mimi, if you and Oscar watch like 5 or 6 of these and don't go, okay, we got to pick up these books and figure out how to do this, I will be stunned. I will be
Okay.
stunned.
Yeah, it's more of a fear of trying to start something that I don't maybe have the bandwidth for right now to prioritize, because I'm like, oh, that all sounds amazing. You know, it's like those Girl Scout cookies that are sitting on my counter that I just bought out of support, but I'm like, I can't actually eat these, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
but
it's
yeah.
it is an investment of time.
Right.
I would argue that it is the same investment of time as taking a hot bath or
Mhm.
having or going out with friends,
Right, right, right.
or it is a manner of self-care, and I would
Mhm.
advocate for it. And that's sort of what I came back to, which is I have
Yeah.
been missing this for so long. I have been neglecting my self-care in it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I have found myself really doing this deep dive analysis of what these games have meant to me throughout my life, and literally how things in the games have changed who I am. And this is what I
Mhm.
mean when I say these are life lesson experiences. The ability to put on the life of a complete fiction, and through that fiction, sometimes literally and through sometimes, you know, allegory and sometimes metaphor, be able to explore different aspects of yourself or others, different ideas, to ask yourself, you know, what would it take? How do you become somebody like a mansion? You know what I mean? Or a cinema, right? I mean, there are, and you don't have to do that. You can be like, no, screw that. I want to kill the dragon and take the treasure, right? But yeah, I love it. So
I'm so excited about that. I think another time I want to like kind of deep dive on how that's actually shaped your creative, who you are creatively, and clearly it has been played a major role in it. So but I do know you have a lot of reading to do,
I do.
so I have to let you go and do that so that we can
Yeah.
all get more Greg Rucka work out in the world, so you can get your stuff done.
I have a screenplay to proofread. So.
Yay. Well, super exciting. And as always, I appreciate having time chatting with you. I know we'll do it again. It's so good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Give my love to everybody, okay?
Likewise. All right. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
Peace out. Bye.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.